Now we're cooking with gas. We just decided to go ahead and take the whole thing out. This panel, those little tiny square pieces, were still fairly decent, but we just decided might as well just take it all out. We were going to leave this rib here. We decided we would go ahead and just take it all out. The problem is it's all glassed in on the bottom. Try to get my shadow so you can see it here. So you have to go with a screwdriver and kind of wedge it in and pry all of that off of there. And then of course you have to put it all back, because that is what gives the trailer its strength, at least the body. It's pretty weak on that side over there with the door. We're going to try to have it boxed in here in the next day or two, but you can see it's pretty weak. The sun is causing us to have a little warpage. It just takes such a beating over here, so we've just put a piece of wood and clamped it, and that seems to be holding it. It's been doing that for a couple of days, so we decided we probably better deal with that. Everything else is looking pretty good, though. Getting these side fenders out was a real challenge. You can see they glassed in the whole thing. I guarantee you no one has had one of these down this far. Because most people would have given up about a week ago. Actually, most people probably would have given up before they even started. And then over here I just cut the glass that was holding our door jamb in, and this piece of angle actually lays across the floor right there and attaches to that rib. We just kind of tied it up. Cut the bolt loose that holds there's a little tab there. Holds it against the frame. Cut that loose, and then we can just turn it up so we can get a new piece of flooring in. Oh, gonna be a little bit more glass work. I got this patch panel pretty good. You look down it. I haven't put the final coat on the outside yet, so this is just, but I'm pretty happy with that. It's relatively flush, so I think it'll work. You have to pick a side to start on, you know. I probably should have started on the front side, but you're working against gravity so much that it's difficult. At least here we had kind of a little bit of a concave section we could kind of work against. But it is what it is. Well, we're pretty much ready for painting the frame now. I've gone through on the super rusted areas and used that rust converter. Ospo is what I used. It turns the rust kind of a black color, and it will hopefully prevent that from going any further. And then everything else we're going to use the Pour 15 on. All the rest of the metal's in really good shape, so I'm not going to worry about it. Just this front rail right here was pretty bad, and then this rail. And I didn't get the front side yet because I need to take a wire wheel to it. It's got resin coated all the way up, so I'll wait till I've kind of busted that off, and then we'll treat and paint that piece. Yeah, I'm ready for painting, and then I still have to go in and build my spare tire mount, and I haven't done that. I really should do that before we paint, but we're wanting to get floor in this today, and the paint needs to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it, get everything on the top part painted, and then we'll worry about building that, and then we can always paint it and throw a floor on it, even though that piece is a little damp. So, because it's going to hang down below that top rail. So I will carry on with this process. I went around and kind of trimmed things up a little bit because it kept cutting me when I was working in there, and so I just took the angle grinder, just kind of trimmed it up. I busted a piece right here. I don't know if you can see that, it's right there. So this side now is very weak. Yeah, you can probably see it now. So I need to repair that. We made a cut that was in the wrong spot. Gotta repair that. I ran a screwdriver through the side, or right here. Not all the way through, but it did crack it on the outside, so I gotta fix that. There's a couple other little holes I need to repair. There's a crack over in this corner. It's just really hard to get that off of there because they've glassed in the floor. There's the other crack. So I'll have to grind that down and deal with that. But other than that, we're in pretty good shape. We're down to 5 weeks now. Woohoo! Just thought I'd mention, this is the stuff I use, and it works really well in my experience. And if you buy this quart bottle, a spray nozzle fits right on it, so you can just spray it wherever it needs to go. So I like ordering it in these smaller sizes. It's a little bit more expensive than buying it by the gallon, but you can buy by the gallon and then refill this bottle. It works perfect. Well, the frame is all painted. There's a few areas I couldn't get to or chose not to get to until I have pulled the tires off. When we're building these wheel wells, I'll have to glass inside and I'll have to pull the tires off at that point. So I just need to do the axle and the leaf springs and inside here where the tires are. The gussets have been added to the frame in the back. The spare tire mount is in. I just used a piece of square tube tapered at the edges to kind of center it. So as it gets tight, it self-centers. Well, let's see. Everything's really cruddy because we've climbed in and out so many times trying to get things to fit correctly. The fiberglass repairs have been made. So this patch is all done. That's all patched. And then my boo-boo over here is all patched. So all of the interior fiberglass repairs have been made. Obviously, I still need to work on the outside, but that's low on the priority list right now. The issue now that I'm going to deal with is, if you want to call it an issue, you can see all the rodent nastiness here. The whole trailer is just disgusting. Sidewalls are just nasty. There's a little bit of green mold right there. So I just want to take a really heavy-duty scrub brush. We're going to go over the entire fiberglass shell on the inside. You know, the birds have had their way with the trailer right over there. So everything just needs really thoroughly cleaned in order for it to feel like we've done everything we can to get rid of the funk out of it. So I'm going to go get some scrub brushes and we'll get drag the hose down and we are going to get this sucker cleaned up. That is nasty. Well, everything has been hit twice on the trailer. I went over it with the trusty Super Clean and then took just a mixture of Dawn dish soap, and vinegar to hopefully kill any smells that might be lingering against the fiberglass and any areas that were exposed cloth. Made sure I got those treated real well with the vinegar just to get the smell out in case. It really doesn't have a smell that I can sense, but sometimes when you leave things like that, you don't treat them. It shows up later. I wanted to point out why that section of framing in the old frame failed. You can see the water. Fiberglass doesn't let the water out, which is why it's great for boats and things like that. But we're going to drill some holes to let this run out. I'm probably just going to put one right here in the middle so that it can get air. And then I'm going to use a foam stopper, and then we will we'll plug that from the bottom side so that rodents and bugs and insects and things can't get in and build nests and houses and that kind of stuff. And I think in the frame we're going to put one in the middle and then one on each side here and probably one in the corner. Do the same thing with that, just to keep the moisture from building up, and if it does kind of have a way to breathe, maybe we won't be doing this again in a few years. But yeah, everything looks pretty good. The fiberglass has got that classic kind of white sheen to it. All these drip marks you're seeing are old resin, so it's just where they put these shelving brackets in. It's the old resin dripping down. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Here's a really good shot of what came off the walls. So I'll get that cleaned out really well. But you know, 50 plus years of grime. This panel here might need to be hit again, but overall, I'd say we're in pretty good shape. Well, the floors are all in. Frame is all painted and everything is all cleaned up. So I'm pretty happy with the progress so far. Underneath, we used like a white vinyl shower board, and we just turned the flat side down. We've done several campers and that stuff works great. And then up in the front, we did the same thing, and I'll glass onto that. So this whole body, this whole tub will get re-glassed back onto that like it was before. Planning on doing the same thing to the inner wheel well, inner fender well, and we will have to build this back exactly like they had it, just to keep the line and everything the same. So that's gonna kind of stink. I'll have to glass all that back in, glass that side back in, and then we should be in pretty good shape. All done but the shouting. Well, there it is, all painted. I didn't paint some of the ribs just because I thought if we had to go back and make a repair, if we broke one, putting it in or something. But we're gonna put this center section of floor down kind of permanent like it goes. Aaron's building the supports for the bed and the wheel well area. So we need to get the floor down kind of where it goes. It has been Thompson water seal treated. I think it was Thompson. Was it Thompson?
Yeah.
And then we are using this shower board, putting the texture side down against that. We're just going to glue it and stick it in. That'll be our center piece. So hopefully no moisture or water or anything will permeate that in the future. At least that's the plan anyway. Aaron's going to pull out this piece so you can see how bad of a cut. It's like a nightmare. Nothing in, he made the comment earlier, it's like working on your boat. Nothing in there is square. You have no square to go off of. That's why we do the hard jobs. That's the piece that goes around the door.
A few little bit.
Yeah, no big deal. That's why we hired you.
Says the welder.
Hey, my work here is done. Well, here's where we are currently. Obviously, not everything is done, but we're kind of starting to build it back together. I did decide to go ahead and take out this steel pole that is through here, that's basically the door support. Took it all the way out. I cut the fiberglass back. You can see where the color change happens there. Cut the fiberglass back enough to where I could get the pipe out of there. Took it out, painted it with Pour 15, treated it first with the OSPO, painted it with Pour 15, and then I just poured the OSPO inside the tube and just kept turning the tube so the inside is all coated also. Not with paint, but with the OSPO. That stuff is still really thick though. I went ahead and we trimmed a piece off of it. And right here at the edge, just to make his piece a little easier to get down in there because it was pretty tight, pretty snug. So I trimmed a piece off. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. And you can see it's really pitted and kind of gnarly looking on the outside, but it is still solid, solid steel. So I had no problem throwing that back in there. So we put it back in. I glassed over it. It has 2 layers of fabric and 4 layers of resin. It is just the strength of your door. It looks green because of the black paint behind it. Looks kind of funny. Plus everything around it now is painted white, so it makes it look good. And then I still need to go back and weld. This guy needs welded back in place. I had to take that off so we could go ahead and glass this in and get the floor in. And we did just guess on where this alignment kind of needs to go. So we put a car jack under it, jacked it up, and then I sandwiched this between 2 boards and we ratcheted it over to get everything to kind of pull in where it needs to be. And it's really close. I mean, it's really close. This piece will obviously get pushed back over. But the door gap is barely off. And the place it's off is right here. And right here, which are the 2 places I've worked. So I think we should be able to shave that, get the gap where it's supposed to be, and we should be good to go on that. And then this just needs welded and bolted. And the floor up front is done. So yeah, we're coming along. I did have him cut. So in here, before, this was just wasted space under the bed. It wasn't used. So we're gonna put an access panel with a little door in the beds so that we can utilize this space right here. Before, this was just wasted space. You couldn't use it. It's not that big, but it's, you know, you could throw a few supplies in there. You don't want to waste the space. And then there was an inspection port cut in the old ones. See if I can find one here. Right here. So this was cut like that, and then the bed slides in right here. But that was the only access you had to that space right there. And that's a pretty good sized space. So I just had him cut it like that so we could get into it. Yeah, you could at least stuff a sleeping bag or something down in there, you know? Emergency kit, first aid kit, something like that. So that's where we are currently. It's coming along. Been a job for sure. But I think it's manageable now. We got it to the stage where we can handle it. And then we tossed around the idea of not putting in, of just making the floor come all the way over here. But now that we've dropped that down, we're really glad we did. It's going to make some great storage under the beds right there. Some space that we wouldn't have had. And keep in mind, there's going to be a pole coming through right here through the middle of it when the bed is back on, because this rear bed is like a slider shelf comes out. So we'll lose some of that space, but we now have utilized every bit that we can, I think. And I went ahead and had him leave these as a drop down as well. Whoops, sorry. So those step down also. Gained us an extra 3 inches or so. This is the door jamb piece. And we'll just go right there. And that is original. So we are going to leave that as is. Might treat it with a little more polyurethane, but keeping the original piece. And then we bought Congolium flooring, this stuff here, which I think is really close to what we had in it, and it's kind of a brownish tan color. I think that's gonna look really good, and it's pretty true to what would have been in there, so I'm happy with that. There's a trim piece that goes on top of this, so that won't show. Need to clean it up a little bit, but so that's kind of what that'll look like. I like it. Then the cabinet gets built in front of the steel piece, so you won't see any of that. It's coming along. Long way from finish, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel a little bit now. And now that it's getting built back together, the strength of it is starting to be restored. So we don't have that floppy. I mean, it is strong now. I still have to glass in everything under here. So under the wheel well still has to get glass back to the wood. I really don't want to do that, but there's no other way to get it done in time. I would have to build metal fender wells, and just don't want to do that. Yeah, I gotta weld this bar back in here. I took the pole that was inside here out, went ahead and cut it out. I left half of the old fiberglass in there, so I kind of knew where to orient things. Went ahead and treated it with the Port 15 and the OSPHO inside the tube, and just painted the outside, but the inside was treated with rust converter as well. And then re-glassed everything in, and in order to just take it out, I had to kind of cut this weld off of here. But there was a little tab on this one that allowed me to kind of orient back where it needed to go. So I've got this angle screwed into the floor, so I should be able to go ahead and put that weld back. And I've just got a wet rag kind of laying on the metal and around my fiberglassing. I don't think it's going to get that hot, but I don't want any sparks to come up and burn anything up. So I'm going to go get the welder. We'll buzz that little section in, and then this beam right here will be ready to bolt. It's got a couple of U-bolts that go around the tongue tubing that comes back, and it's just got a couple of carriage bolts throughout. I think 3 of them, one in the middle and then one on each end where I've got the screws. So once we get that done, we can start working on this cabinet. So we oriented it using the old pattern. Aaron cut a new piece. It's notched out for that angle iron that's down there, and then this piece just goes on the other side of the door here, right up against that. So we should be where the old one was. And it's starting to sprinkle again. This is the project we just cannot get done. About the time we get going on it, big old hailstorm or rain hits. Pretty typical Midwest summer this year. Hot, humid, like 97% humidity currently. Oh. Up here. At least until we get a weld on. .415 does not make a very good ground. That's a little better. Welder's sticking. Why are you sticking? Out of wire? So the inspection sticker on the spool is stuck to my spindle. So I'm going to try to get that off of there and take a file down it and remedy that issue. Why is this not feeding? Well, it can't feed if the spool can't turn. I can barely even get it off of there. Oh yeah. Big old ball of paper. Ah. You know, it's one of those 3-minute jobs turns into 3 hours. I'll bring you back when we're going again. I have never had that happen before. Always learning. Keeps you on your toes. Problem solving. Okay, let's try again. like to get one on this side over here if I can. My helmet's fogging up so bad from the humidity. Can't see. See if we can get one tack on this upper side. Smell burning fiberglass. Stay off that side. Let's just see if we can get one hit up here. Be a one-hit wonder. Good enough. Good enough. That's primarily just the door, the threshold to the door support is all that is, and then that bolts back to the floor. So I just did a couple of pretty heavy welds, 2 of them, and then 1 there, so if I have to cut it out, it's not impossible to get out. Because before it was impossible. They welded in the corner. I didn't want to do that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I can live with that. Done. Yep. Good enough for government work.